what I went to, what, 2 months ago now, only on what was most impactful on me, what I could write down. So I'm going to leave out about 2/3 of what I went to. But some of the events that I went to, or sessions, I went to one on public speaking, a couple on iOS development, one on continuous deployment, which was really cool. One of the Netflix guys from the Netflix software development group was there. A couple on design, not software design, but user interface design, and another on gamification. So you might have heard I'm a .NET guy. There was a bunch of stuff on Azure. There was a bunch of stuff on other .NET technologies. I didn't go to them, and I do that on purpose because I kind of live, eat, and breathe .NET all day long. I don't do a lot of coding anymore, but I'm a tech lead on a team that does. So I'm a lot more forward-looking. I try not to look too far over the horizon, but I do want to have plans for where my team is going to be going in the next 6 to 12 to 18 months. And so some of these other areas are ones that I'm looking at. We have brought up iOS development, and that's huge out there, at least in a conference. You can hear people who are developing, not Angry Birds, but enterprise apps that maybe you don't even see in the App Store. It's only privately developed. Continuous deployment, although it's not new, it's getting bigger. And one of the coolest things I saw there, I'll just share this with you from the Netflix guys, and you may know about this if you read their blog. Here's a cool Netflix blog from the software developers. Anybody hear of Chaos Monkey?
Yes.
They released the Chaos Monkey to test their software. So the Chaos Monkey will start shutting down services, shutting down networks, dropping database connections, just to see how their software responds. And that's one of the things that I kind of want to bring back to my team. So even though I went there for continuous development, the coolest thing I heard there was Chaos Monkey, something I never expected to hear about. And another thing that I kind of wanted to bring back to my culture, and I don't know how I'm going to integrate this yet, is the gamification. So anybody here know their gamer score? Xbox? So I know there's a few going. And that's being rolled out a lot more enterprise-wide, whether it's internal employees or customers, getting people more engaged in whatever it is that you're doing with them through games, through scores, through achievements. And you know, I've heard jokes about that the past couple of years, but it's getting to be a more and more serious. I think that's what Foursquare is all about, right? You check into Foursquare, not because Foursquare is super awesome, but you want to be mayor of that place. You want to share that with your friends. And that works at the enterprise as well as with your clients. Again, something I never expected to come back with from Code Match, but you know, out of the 5 things out of the 20 maybe that I did there, that's one of the things that stuck with me.
Now, since you talked about now document, we would want to get into Java codes that, what were the presentations that focused on Java and talking about Java things like I heard there were a lot of Dojo stuff that we did and a lot of Dojo stuff.
Dojo is very different from Bojo.
Yeah.
So the Dojo is where you go and you do a code kata, which is a simple exercise. It's something that you can't really do in one sitting, but you can still understand it all fairly quickly. The most common one is Conway's Game of Life, where you have a grid of dots and they live or die based on the number of neighbors. I actually, like John, I didn't do a lot of where my core stuff is in Java. The more and more I go to these kinds of events, sorry to say this in a Java SIG, but Java, I believe, is the new COBOL, where it has a lot of really great uses and it's everywhere, but there's a lot of better technologies that are coming out, like Scala, Clojure, Ruby, and I think a lot of the power from Java doesn't necessarily come from Java, but it comes from the JVM, where you have these other languages that run on the JVM, can interface and interact with Java programs no problem. but give you a lot more current features in terms of dynamic languages, functional programming, closures, all of these things that are really powerful that you just don't have in Java, or when you do stuff that's similar in Java, you have about 200 lines of boilerplate to get it to work. So what I attended was stuff that was similar to that, although a lot of it was more abstract. Like the big one that I remember was, the pre-compiler I went to was the security talk, where it didn't talk as much about like the specifics in terms of code, but more the kind of processes that someone who is, a security expert is going to be thinking about of how they would interact with your software in terms of how they go about breaking it. And he did this whole demonstration of hijacking all of these very simple web pages, which are very similar to a lot of the code that we would write, which I thought was terrifying, just how easy it is to exploit some of that stuff. And then I did some of the similar like game development and gamification. And yeah, I think all the dojos I did, I actually did in JavaScript, not in Java.
Anything you would want to add to pre-compiler topic that Gabby started? So I heard phone gap came up as one of the pre-compiler code mash.
Yes. To be honest, I'm not a big fan of phone gap. But phone gap is a cross-platform solution for mobile application development. I attended that session for a little while, and from my past experience, we were at Nationwide working on the mobile application, so they had some very unpleasant experience developing using phone gap. And I agree that the framework has improved a lot, but there is a lot of, that's what I found over there, talking to the presenter, and that misses a lot of key functionalities that can be built using the native apps. Because mobile is one of my interests, so when I was attending that conference at the same time, because it was not a very elaborative, but at the same time it was giving enough information what the capabilities are. So it was good, means it is good to get started, to understand, to build and deploy the application, to understand how the mobile applications work on the different platforms. But for the real core features, then I realized that person that okay, it has its limitations. And whereas native is the way to go if you want to build some more device specific and using you want to use some key features or because when they build the application, what is that? Okay, iOS has this capability, Android has this capability. Let's take the common out of it and try to build a solution based on that. So what we mean at the core is what the core capabilities that Android provides versus the iOS provides. So iOS may provide something that Android doesn't, and Android provides something. So that's a gap that's missed. So, but for the cross-platform, I found that it was a good solution. And for the business application, especially to get started.
All right, another question. Well,
Yeah.
TJ, next time, make sure you vet the speakers so that they are indeed committed to Java. Sure, but
He's been pointing out since the beginning. I'm like, you should be thankful that .NET guys are sharing their experiences. But he's like,
no, I'm glad the .NET guys are sharing the experiences, but I don't want to lose a Java guy in the middle of the SIG. But
We're too old now to be getting overrun by the .NET guys.
absolutely,
Yeah.
yes.
did you not just hear from a Java person that Java is a new Go ball? I don't even want to say it because that's what the
Well, that's exactly what I meant. You need to vet the speakers first.
Java guys are out sick. So Kevin, initially, when I sent the mail, it was 6 presenters. So 2 of the Java people, Kevin and Mandeep, they are out sick. So that's why you see only 4 of them.
That's,
.NET makes you healthier.
yeah, that was a joke. I really appreciate your candor. And actually, I have a question along the same lines. For most of the developers in the audience, what are some of the technologies and trends that you think developers should invest in, do research, so that they are indeed ready for those technologies when other companies and organizations are ready for adoption?
Something that really intrigued me at CodeMash, and I'm going to take with me for a long time. I've seen this building, and it actually has very little to do with .NET or Java, and that's user interface. All the UX sessions that I saw kind of opened my eyes to all that around the area. Getting in touch with some of these designers. We have a great group of them here in Clutch, but developing with design in mind is becoming more and more important. It used to be, long ago that data was king, right? Developed all your applications around data. Where's your data? How much data? How you get your data? Where's the encryption of the data? Well, that's all expected now. What's king now is the user, because if you get your device, we've all done this. So you get out and you pull out your app. If it doesn't come up right away, I'll delete that later, right? So whatever your application is, enterprise-wide, whether it's shrink wrap software, that design and thinking of design first is utmost important to any software engineer.
I think that's a skill that is transferable. You don't have to think, oh, well, how does it apply to MySpace? Not MySpace, but my base of development. One of the areas that I found valuable was a presentation on GIS. The geographic, geospatial topic. Steve Horn presented that. And things like calculating how far can I drive in 10 minutes from my delivery site? Now that's more than just delivering pizzas, oh, I'm sorry, we don't deliver out to your neck of the woods, like where I live. But, things that, logistics planning and all these things, GIS was really important for that. There was a graphic design topic by a local person, Jen Myers. She runs a local branch of Girl Development, which is focused on teaching programming skills to women and girls to get them interested more so than they might normally be, or kind of leveling the playing field. And you get some people that are really passionate about what they're presenting and things like that. So you get some technical stuff, but you also get that enthusiasm that's across too.
To add to what Siddharth had asked, and John, you kind of touched on this too, but what can ICC do with something that's new, like talking about new technologies or us utilizing something? What's something that ICC isn't doing now that you think we could do?
I would say one of the biggest things would be to, instead of restricting ourselves to just being single language developers, either focusing purely on being Java or DB or web developers, is learning more polyglot skills, because I found that a lot of the places